What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. I am your host, Lore Reloaded, and as always, I am happy to have you guys here. Hey, if you're watching this video on demand, you know exactly how this works. I'm going to throw a couple of things at you, and then we're just going to get into it. Of course, I'm also going to be watching to make sure that there's no delay or any kind of weird stuff going on. YouTube has been acting odd, as always, almost like Twitch. But while we're waiting, don't forget to check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. If you have been a long-standing subscriber, you know that there was an error with YouTube and the channel was gone for a while. If you want to keep up with everything and make sure you know what's going on, definitely check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Also, if you want to help the lore, because this is fan-funded, then please consider going to patreon.com/Lore Reloaded and becoming a patron for as low as $1 a month. That will allow you to see videos earlier, and also sometimes, mostly generally, I will have additional stuff up as a part of my videos, clips and stuff I can't use on YouTube. If you want to get that cut, it is on patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. With that out of the way, let's just say hi to some folks. We got Sci-Fi Sith Dan here. Always a fun time with Sci-Fi Sith Dan. Of course, the one and only Micah Leith, Nexa8462. Park, now the show can begin. I was actually waiting on Park, so we got that going. Jonathan Stevie talking about the Kentucky Derby, which is awesome. That has all of like 6 viewers to it. Chase, what's going up, sir? Mark Salmonfink, who has the best avatar I've ever seen. Old Fire Master, someone who is a part of the Guardians of the Lore, my Star Trek Online fleet. You should consider that out. Check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. We play Star Trek Online there. Have a lot, just a ton of fun. So let's talk about it, because today we're going to be talking about a video I'll be doing next week, probably Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the Klingon Empire. So if you guys missed it, I recently had the Trek Yards, guys from the Trek Yards, on this channel. It was quite a bit of fun. During that conversation, there was actually an interesting piece that came up on why the Klingons might be the way we see them. So I wanted to put it out to you guys, see what you guys think. And there will be a video coming up Wednesday, and based on this conversation, I might add stuff to it, I might take stuff away. I honestly like getting your guys' opinions. So, here's my thoughts. Let's take a look at the Klingon Empire. When looking at it chronologically, right? So we have Enterprise. In Enterprise, we have a solidified Klingon Empire. They all have houses. They're all under a specific chancellor. There are issues, but they're united. And during this time, we do see that the ships are reflective of what we would come to see in future iterations, in the Next Generation, in Deep Space Nine, Voyager. So here's my question. What if in Enterprise we had the government created or at least contracted the vessels, which is why we see them all being somewhat similar. And that's why they were more refined. That's why the technology was a lot better. And sometime towards the end of Enterprise, or after Enterprise, the Klingon Empire would fall into a civil war because they weren't united, if you remember, in Discovery, which means that from Enterprise to Discovery, they would have had to have fallen into some kind of disarray. And during that time, the government would have collapsed, because again, you have all of the houses fighting each other. And because of that, we see a drastic change in ships. Now, instead of relying on the government to provide or to assist in the building of the ships, the infrastructure, each individual house has to build their own. And so we're seeing piecemealed Klingon ships being put together. We're seeing the Klingon structure just completely die off and die away. And because of that, ships don't look like the way they were supposed to be going. They don't look like they're under the government infrastructure that we saw beforehand. Towards the end, there's going to be mild spoilers here if you care about spoilers in Discovery. 3, 2, 1. When it comes under L'Rell and then her, whoever, boy toy that Burnham likes, I forget his name, they restore the government, they restore the infrastructure, and so you begin to see the revitalization of the ships. They go back and bring the ships back into what they were supposed to be. I don't think it's perfect. I do think it explains what we want it to explain. I do think it goes by... I think it corrects everything, in my opinion. But I'd like to know what your guys' thinks. Let me know. I'll give it a second for you guys to catch up. If you're new to this, what I do is I read comments. This is a conversation back and forth. Also, something here, just to let you guys know, I have partnered with a company called Eagle Moss, and so they've given me a link that if you want to buy Eagle Moss and you buy it from this channel, click the link. I don't make any money off of that. It just tracks who's watching it and who's not. So I'll have that in the description and all further descriptions. What do you guys think? We got Sci-Fi Sith Dan here. What do you call a movie that focuses more on a political and feminist agenda? Answer, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That has nothing to do with what I was talking about. Thank you, Sci-Fi Sith Dan. You've been watching too much Anti-Tracker. Star Fox, I would have preferred the Klingons to be like the original series. Sure. Monkey Zor says the explanation doesn't explain why Klingons look so different. Jonathan Stevie, given $10. If you guys don't know, this is completely fan-funded, so it's through super chats like that. It's through becoming a sponsor on YouTube. It's through Patreon. So things like this is the only way this stays afloat. Jonathan Stevie is apparently sharing his Kentucky Derby tips. Well, God bless the Kentucky Derby, and I feel so bad for making fun of it. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to make fun of it again. Porrick says, answer me this then. How does house-built ships defeat a United Federation fleet if they are made from whatever they can use? Yeah, so it does explain why the Klingons are like they are, but it makes Starfleet look horrifically ill-prepared. Now, I'll say this. The ending of Discovery, again, spoilers, where Starfleet is getting the hell beat out of it doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't. Because Starfleet can out-resource and out-innovate any enemy they come upon. But the initial losses make sense from a Starfleet standpoint because it's just their MO. They are always ill-prepared. There's never a war, to my knowledge, that Starfleet specifically has won. And I believe it comes from the Fossa RPG. I had a fan, our audience member, talk about this, and it's not alpha canon, but it makes a lot of sense. Starfleet creates things and builds things in a way that makes their punch lethal. So if they punch you, it's going to be lethal. But Starfleet never throws the first punch. That is completely consistent with every war they've ever fought, with possibly the exception of Discovery. Let's see. Jay Wiggs, this is wishful thinking and good hand canon to try and explain STD, monster Klingons. I don't think the Star Trek Discovery writers are as clever as you and Trek yards. Have to see to believe. Yeah, they say they're going to fix everything. They say they're going to fix everything in the second season. I remain unconvinced. Anthony Dukes wants to see a space horse race on Canto Bight. Who doesn't want to see that? And then we can have everybody killed and a poorly written female character giddy about it. Perhaps the various Klingon houses buy ships from the central government. That is why there's a variant in the ships. Yeah, see, here's my thoughts. Here's what I've always thought about it. And you actually see this in Star Trek Generations when the Duras family can only afford a 50 to 100-year-old bird of prey. But the ships are all, they seem like they're either all purchased from the government or they're all licensed through the government. and the wealthier houses are able to purchase the more advanced ships, the newer ships, whereas the families that have fallen out of favor, the dishonorable ones, like the Duras sisters at that time, can only afford the weaker ships, the older ships, which makes a lot of sense, really, when you think about it. And it would explain why you have basically what is a fiefdom, several fiefdoms, all have the same ships, all have the same technology. Neil Fuller says, a rationalization and a weak justification that makes no sense, as the houses would have backed the Imperial shipyards to begin with. I disagree, Neil Fuller. I think that, and we see this in The Next Generation, too. When the Klingons go into civil war, it's all-out civil war. Give me a second. Wow. Wow. I apologize. It's all-out civil war. They will destroy Imperial shipyards. They will kill whoever they need to kill. It's pretty barbaric in the way that they do it. So I don't think that they would just leave alone the Imperial shipyards. It's almost like BattleTech, except not as well fleshed out. Quick question. Have you recommended for or against watching Star Trek Discovery? I watched some of the initial episodes, but not much outside of that. I have talked about this, and I would say that I don't like Discovery. I think if you're going to Discovery for nostalgia, because you like Deep Space Nine, because you like The Next Generation, because you liked Voyager, even Enterprise, or TOS, I don't think you're going to like it. For $10, I mean, it's worth taking a look at it. And if you really want to support Star Trek, then you can give it a chance. I don't think it's worth it. I would only suggest it if you aren't going because of nostalgia, or you really, really want to support Star Trek and you're willing to support them for something that's subpar. Dean Althouse, I like Orville a lot more than I like Discovery. Stupid personal drama and all. I do like Orville. I like Orville as well. I actually have a battle breakdown that I did of Orville. You should check it in the archive. I just did it for fun. The Crazy Fereldon asks, in your opinion, did Discovery ruin Harry Mudd's character? You're not going to like the answer to that. Most people don't. Anti-Trekker definitively doesn't. I like Discovery's Harry Mudd more than I like the original series. But I'll be honest with you, I appreciate the original series. And I think that the original series was more realistic in how it did its technology and how it treated the command structure and what Starfleet was. That said, the original series is very campy, and they made it without thinking that this was going to be a franchise, a huge franchise. I grew up on The Next Generation. I grew up on Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is my favorite. And the original series would probably be low on the list of my favorites. I still like it, but it'd be low on my list of the favorites. And I really like the Harry Mudd of Discovery. Porek says, I do agree with you on the central government theory, but I say it's more like the government constructs shipyards and gives houses an authority over them, but still controls them. I mean, I could see that. That could make sense. And then it would create not only that, but the more powerful houses would have the shipyards. They'd be able to build the biggest ships, and then the lower houses would have to have fealty, which would explain how houses are more loyal or fall under different houses. So, I mean, I could see that. And then during the wars, of course, they would attack and destroy the shipyards. What's going on, Admiral Saval? Hey, the party can start. Admiral Saval here is everybody. We were all waiting on you, Saval. Glad you're here. Why did Starfleet ignore the Ship of the Dead that was adrift for a couple of months? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's an explanation for it. Maybe they thought it was destroyed or they didn't want to come back, but I don't know. It's a good question. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, I have a clever idea to fix the Star Trek timeline. Have the habits of the galaxy invent memory wipe tech from the MIB movies and ease the memory for for the alternative timeline. Well, there you go. It's fixed. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, they need to be paying you. They need to be paying you, good sir. Did Martak's flagship actually belong to him? I would say yes. Well, Martok was from a lesser family, wasn't he? I'd still say yes. Humans have greater adaptability than almost any other race. Sure. Borg are only interested in humans for some reason. Klingons need not to be conquered. Well, neither do the Romulans, or the Breen, or the Tholians. I mean, we know the reason why is the Borg need to attack humans because that's what we are, and they wanted to set that up. So, yeah, I mean, they wanted to hit the heart. I do think that when the Borg attacked, the reason why they attacked Sector 001, they attacked Earth, was because they wanted to create an alpha, whatever it was, subspace network, that they wanted to have Sector 001 be where the hub is for the Alpha Quadrant. And that's where the most resources would be. So it somewhat makes sense, but obviously it was done for writing, writing. Dean Althauser, meh. The houses are just dumb. House of Moog, pretty sure I spelled that wrong. You did spell that wrong. For example, poof, you're back and have a seat on the council, and you're gone. What about all the farmers, planets, etc.? So Dean Althauser, here's something that's interesting. And this is why I was talking about the original series did some things that I think was very realistic. And what that is that the original series movies made Klingons more palpable, more understandable. And the reason why they did is because the way they looked at honor, every person could be honor bound, but they didn't have to be a warrior. So, for instance, if you're an engineer, as long as you do your best and you make sure that the engines continue to run, then you've brought honor to your family and to the Empire. If you're a doctor or a scientist, it's the same way. And I like the Klingons that way. Now, we generally only see that in the original series movies. In the original series itself, they were mustache-twirling villains. In TNG and Deep Space Nine, it was all about being a warrior cult. But yeah. Micah Leith, is there an engine running in the background? There is not. That is my computer attempting to escape. The fan is going crazy. I'm not sure why. It doesn't generally do that, but today it does. Just let the hum happen, baby. Have you got your new computer yet? I do. I have not set it up. Lore Reloaded to Michael Leith. Literally, we could put all of the show's tech problems to one device, so if we pull a year of hell on Discovery, would the timeline be fixed? It would. It would piss off a lot of people. I almost want them to do it. I could respect that, but it's the only way to fix everything. I don't see any other way of doing it. I thought they were going to do that in Season 1. By the way, people, we got 99 people watching, only 26 thumbs up. Anti-Trekker says that y'all won't thumb up because you're scared. Prove him wrong. At Lore Reloaded, it seems that the Klingon Empire Imperial houses are similar to the GOH game of... GOH series. Not sure what GOH is. Christopher Plummer was awesome. Okay. A reset button is a good idea for once. Yeah, I hate that they would rewrite all of Season 1, but it's the only way to fix all of this. I don't know how you're going to fix it. But then it would make Discovery Season 1 feel like a complete waste of time. The only way that I see them doing this, the only way I see a reset and it being worth anything is to somehow tie the characters in it and have some kind of loss, you know? I don't know. There'd have to be something tied to it than just a generic reset. Somebody asked me if I got Tarek Nora behind me. So, It's Deep Space Nine. So here's the thing I'll say, guys. I don't push it too much. I'm really a fan of Eagle Moss for a couple of reasons. They sent this to me. They didn't even ask me to do anything or mention anything. This was just kind of a congratulations for getting 10,000 subscribers. They're a really cool company. They do right by people. Their customer service can suck, and I don't like all of their models. But overall, I think they're a good company. I see your cat Overlord is giving you free time. Yeah, he's not here right now. He is probably sleeping below. Show cancellation would be better than reset. I wouldn't mind seeing the adventures of Captain Riker or something. GOH stands for Game of Thrones series. Why wouldn't it be GOT? Why GOH? But I agree, if that's what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I don't want a Captain Riker thing. I'd like a post Deep Space Nine or another Dominion War series. A lot of people are against that. I don't understand why. You could have a Dominion War series and just have it be from another point of view. Here's an interesting idea that I was talking with Commander Cockings from Trek Yards. What if, and this was more a fan fiction idea, but I mean you could do it not fan fiction. What if you had a ship that was at like the first Battle of Chintaka or the second Battle of Chintaka or Operation Return, and have that ship be near destroyed and lost and caught behind enemy lines, kind of like what happened with the Defiant, except have them back there, have them behind enemy lines for a lot longer. Almost an Enterprise or Voyager like vibe. I think that'd be intriguing. I don't know. I'd rather have Cody 85, but with a 0. I'd rather have seen the JJ Verse Crew series than what I've heard from Discovery. I like JJ Verse over Discovery, for sure. Anthony Dunks, we don't need another These Are the Voyages, says Captain Josh. Your new Dominion War series could be the Dominion facing a big menace that scares the Link enough to ask for Starfleet help. That would be interesting. A Starfleet Dominion alliance versus something that could defeat the Federation and the Dominion apart. Honestly, if you were going to have a post Deep Space Nine, post Voyager, post Destruction of Romulus, I think it would be, and we've talked about this, and we talk about this all the time, and I know some of you guys get frustrated or tired of it, but I'd be interested to explore either a Civil War or near Civil War, where you have the explorers, people who want to return to the Federation as it was, and people who want to be a military, and they're just bumping heads. By the way, guys, if you're watching this, don't forget that this show is completely fan-funded. Remember to check me out at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded, where you can become a patron for as low as $1 a month, and you get videos earlier, and you see all kinds of special stuff. People are saying the Herc. I have not been impressed by the Herc. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't impressed in Star Trek Online. I'm not impressed with them as a species. A lot of people want to see that. The Herc don't do much for me. And I don't understand why people like it. You know? I don't know. Yeah, as Old Firemaster said, Michael Leith, you're not allowed to leave. Now that I've gotten over my initial phase of excitement and elation that a new Star Trek series is finally being released, says Ian Mays, I actually now agree with you about the Discovery series. You know, if people enjoy the Discovery series, I don't blame them. That's great. I'm glad you can enjoy it. I understand why people don't. How about the Iconians? The Iconians might be a little more interesting. Andrew Close, the Herc are Star Trek's Tyranids. If they were Tyranids, then I might be interested in it. They aren't described as Tyranids to me. But if they were Tyranids, that would be interesting. The Zerg in Star Trek is curious to me. I would pay CBS to watch your Star Trek series based on a Federation near Civil War, says Josh Street. I would let CBS pay me to provide you with that you would watch. Dean Altizer says Star Trek Online is not a fun game. Of that, I would disagree. I don't like the land combat, but I love the ship combat, and a lot of the stories I can get into. If you don't like it, I understand that, though, especially since it goes against... before Discovery, it goes against everything that Star Trek was really about. It was more Deep Space Nine. But, I mean, what can you do with an MMO, you know? Where can you go with that? I miss Axanar. I wish... I'm going to say this is going to make a lot of people mad. I don't think we're ever going to see Axanar. We definitively aren't going to see Axanar the way that they want to show it to us. I would have loved to seen what they would have done with Axanar, especially if they continued to make it a mockumentary. Daniel's Hot Topics. Everybody calm down. All right, everybody relax. Daniel's Hot Topics is now here. We were all worried about it, but it's back. Lore, there are many Star Trek fans today, and they are split. There are those who want a peaceful diplomatic Trek, and there are those who want a more warlike Trek, or Trek Wars. So why not just make it? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Anthony Duke's Discovery blows $2, helping out the channel. Again, completely fan-funded. It's stuff like that that keeps me afloat. Daniel's Hot Topics, that's why I think that a series post the destruction of Romulus would be very, very interesting. And I'll go into this, and I hate doing this because I talk about it every time I do a live show, and I feel like it's repeating. It gets boring for some people. But what I think would be interesting is you don't necessarily have to have the Civil War, but a constant theme that they always were trying to do but never actually did was to have Vulcan pull out of the Federation. There were a couple of times in The Next Generation and in Deep Space Nine when Vulcan was going to secede from the Federation, but they never did it. So you have a new series, and starts out, and it's another ship, and the ship has been called back to Vulcan, and Vulcan is threatening, along with 6 other planets, to secede. Because they see that the Starfleet is becoming a military that's not moving back to this exploration, which makes sense. I don't think Vulcan would support something like that, would support a militaristic Starfleet. So Vulcan and 6 planets are going to secede, and they haven't seceded yet, but they've stated that they're not going to listen to or honor previous treaties until an emergency council meeting has happened. So Vulcan is just denying any kind of trade treaties. So the Andorians, being the Andorians, again, Vulcans and Andorians have a past, and Andorians are pretty hot-headed. The Andorians decide that they're going to challenge the Vulcans. And so they send a fleet of ships, of militia warships, for safeguarding of their cargo ships, and they challenge the Vulcans. And now you have a Vulcan fleet on one side, a Andorian fleet on the other side, and then the hero ship shows up, the crew who we're going to be watching, and that's the first episode. The first episode is trying to mitigate what might be a civil war, well, at worst a civil war, at the best of the worst, Vulcans and Andorians getting into a regional fight. Jeremy Shearer, keep up the good work. Hey, you know what, Jeremy? I was not going to do it. I was going to shut everything down and just make subpar stuff. I was actually just going to upload, like, GIFs. But because you told me to keep up the good work, for you, buddy, I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep up the good. Vulcan Secession, name the episodes. TNG, I can't name it off the top of my head, but I can tell you Paradise Lost. The plan for Paradise Lost was immediately after that to have Vulcan secede. They didn't do it because they had to jump into the Klingon Federation War, but had they not been forced to go immediately to the Klingon Federation War, we would have seen Vulcan secede. That was in the plans. It was on the books. In TNG, I'd have to look it up. I'm telling you definitively there was points when they wanted to have TNG secede. Rory Adams is going to patreon.com/lore reloaded. Rory Adams is a legend, as they say. There are several species that I could see dropping out of the Federation, says Hainer Tim. Yeah, and I mean, if you don't want to have secession, we don't necessarily have to have it. Just have the threat of it. And that opens up so many things. Like, you could have Section 31 come in, right? You could have all kinds of different sides try to play ball in this. And if this is post Romulus destruction, you could have the Andorians saying, "Hey, this isn't the Vulcans we know. These aren't the Vulcans we're looking for." So obviously, the Dominion is doing another attack. These are obviously shapeshifters. So anyway, Nexus 8462. Speaking of Section 31, did you see the Season 2 trailer? I'm assuming you mean of Discovery. There was no... Okay. Curse warning. There was no damn trailer. It's not a trailer. A trailer tells me about the future. It shows me what I'm going to see. It doesn't show me stages and then use words and use audio and clips from better shows, from previous Star Trek shows that were better. And it didn't use a trailer. Generally, won't use a dead man to push their product because of nostalgia. But if you're asking me about the scene with Section 31, yes, I did see that scene. It's interesting. I think Section 31 would absolutely do it. I don't understand why the guy was trying to hide as a Trill. I mean, you're not really hiding yourself. It's like, oh, you have spots right here. You don't have spots. It's as stupid as Superman wearing glasses and no one knowing who he is. Porrick, $5, euros. I feel bad for those who first Star Trek is JJ-verse and STO. Pity them. JJ-verse isn't that bad. A lot of people give JJ-verse. I think JJ-verse is a good homage, and it is quite clearly not original Star Trek. I don't have an issue with JJ-verse. A lot of people do. Discovery Season 2 triggers lore. Discovery Season 2 doesn't trigger me. Them constantly lying, always lying, triggers me. Saying a trailer exists and it not being a trailer on top of every other lie they've ever told triggers me. Yes, I get triggered. It's easy. You want my blood pressure to go up? Just comment. Just comment on every video I have. Say, hey, have you seen the new Disco trailer? It's going to trigger me every time. It'll send me to an early grave. You definitely should do it if you want me dead. Have you guys seen how it should have ended? How it should have ended. Yeah, how it should have ended. I love his how it should have ended for the JJ verse, and they actually talk about the lens flares, and they're on the ship, and he's like, "Captain, I can't see," and he's like, "It makes sense. Lens flares coming from every single way." It was funny. I love Hishi. Hishi's awesome. The main issue with JJ-verse is that he values style over in-universe, stated ways and distances. He plays it fast and loose with some things, especially the science fiction part of it. But I think he builds the world very interestingly. I think he builds it realistically. Like we see Section 31 in the Wrath of Khan. I forget, it's not the Wrath of Khan. JJ versus the Wrath of Khan. And how Section 31 is built up, and now they have installations. he makes it realistic, in my opinion. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, good luck with having CBS paying you to write and develop a Star Trek TV show, because their way to politic left-leaning in politics. Yeah, man, I've had people who have contacts with CBS made it quite clear that I will not be on CBS's payroll. I'm okay with that. Lens flare, the mark of JJ. It is. I'd like to see Captain Worf command a Cavort-class Klingon bird of prey for the KDF. Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people would watch that. People generally like human aspects because, well, we're human. Aaron Alexander, what do you think of the JJ verse Klingons with the pierced ridges? That's one of the reasons I don't get too upset about the way the Klingons look in Discovery. A lot of people do. I don't. Because if you look how they looked in the original series, then the original series movies, then TNG, then Deep Space Nine, they change every time. They change from TOS to the movies. They change from the movies to TNG. They change from TNG to Deep Space Nine. If you looked at TOS and Deep Space Nine, and in fact you do in the Deep Space Nine's 50th anniversary, you can see quite clearly how different they are. They're always doing visual changes like that, so it doesn't bug me as much. I never really had a huge issue with the way the Klingons were. Dean Altheiser has something that let's address. Who cares about the left-leaning politics? It was always left-leaning. TOS had a Russian on the bridge, for crying out loud. Dean, yes. Star Trek has always been left-leaning. Absolutely, 100% agree. We're in lockstep on that. However, they have always done it in a way that is not only subtle but thought-provoking. Generally. Now, there are some bad things, like Who Watches the Watchers on The Next Generation, where they just bash religion like it's the redheaded stepchild. Some things in Deep Space Nine, too. But they have always tried to either normalize it and just present it as if it's normal. In Deep Space Nine, you had a guy that was pregnant. You had, and I'm not talking about the Quark episode, because that was bad, but you had transgenderism. You had homosexuality. On the original series, you had an interracial kiss. And they normalized it, or they did it in a way that was thought-provoking. Discovery does not do that. Discovery bashes you over the head with it. If they can make Trump look like an idiot, then they'll do it. They care about telling you that if you don't believe what they believe, you're wrong. Now, a lot of people get very, very confused. Just because I'm saying this, don't get confused, don't get scared. Just because I'm saying this doesn't mean I necessarily agree. It just means that it's more nuanced. When you do things like what you did in the Terran Empire and you attack the right, you attack Trump, you go out of your way to make people who feel that Trump might be right feel like idiots. You just divide Star Trek, which was meant to bring everyone together, and you just make people feel, you make people defensive, and you can't change their minds doing that. Again, don't get confused. Just because I'm saying that doesn't mean I necessarily like Trump. I go out of my way not to really point out. Whether I like him or not is irrelevant. I don't agree with a lot of what the guy does. But just because I don't agree with a lot of what the guy does doesn't mean that I can't point out, hey, it's stupid to do that. It only divides us. It needs to be out of it. Or you need to be more subtle. Darth Kilhoun helping out the channel. If you had reformed Starfleet to become an actual military, what starships, weapons, armor, military doctrine with budget of the entire Earth economy? Well, if it's just the Earth economy, then you'd probably have stuff like what you see in Enterprise. But if you're talking about the economy of the Federation, I would go back to the original series, and I would design ships like the original series, like the Enterprise Constitution class. Now, if I'm doing it for the 24th century, we're talking about the Prometheus, we're talking about the Sovereign, the Akira, we're talking about the Defiant. I would have a subset of ships that were military only, but that would be a very small fraction. Most ships would be built at a 60-40 or a 50-50 or 60-40. 50-50 military science, 60-40 military science. And I think that's what Starfleet did at the end. And that's the way that I would put it together. We also have Anthony Duke's Discovery Season 2 trailer. Anthony Duke's has been banned. Goodbye. I don't want your money. Don't want your money. I do want your money, Anthony. Anthony Dukes, I'm going to take your money for that, and I'm just going to ban you. You're gone. Banned. Let's see. Micah Leith says, that's debatable. I don't know what you're talking about, Micah Leith. You have to be a little more specific, unless you're talking to me. The preachy politics backfired. Even after being exposed, Mira Lorca was still one of the best characters of the series. I think it was character assassination on Lorca. And it was stupid. It made no sense. Lorca, spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Lorca was supposed to act like Trump in the Terran Empire. And he was against someone who because he didn't think that they were anti-alien enough. The person ate aliens. She would choose the aliens, cook them, and eat them. And apparently that wasn't enough for Lorca. That is stupid. Absolutely stupid. I was joking, Pete. No one got banned. What do you think about Steve Shives doing Trek videos? Well, here's an interesting thing that'll make people mob. Steve Shives I have known for 9 to 10 years. I have observed Steve Shives' drastic change. Steve Shives is still a friend of mine. He and I disagree on a myriad of things. And he actually supports the channel. As a person, I like Steve Shives. I haven't really watched a lot of his videos, his Trek videos, because I don't agree with nearly every video he puts out. I disagree with almost every video he puts out. But Steve Shives, at least in interactions with me, is a pretty decent guy. And I know that's unpopular. I know a lot of people are going to get mad about that. But that's the honest opinion. And I haven't watched a lot of his videos because every time I watch his videos, I'm like, man, I don't agree with anything here. And you know, he's like, he does the same thing with me. In fact, he called me, it was the nicest way it's ever been done, but he called me a sexist when we were having a debate. I used to do politics and everything and religion. And me and him disagree when it comes to politics. And he called me a sexist online. It was the nicest way someone's ever called me a sexist. Anyway, that's outside. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. I'm sure I've already lost subscribers, but that's all right. You can damn me for who I am. Nexus8462, what I want to know is why did they have to make a TV show so close in the era we know? This could have worked after Voyager. They're banking on nostalgia. So, one second. I think that they do the original series because they're trying to get people who like the original series are getting up there in age, and they don't have too many years in them left. And I think they're trying to get that sweet money before time has gone on. That's the cynical version of mine. I honestly don't know. The optimistic is I don't know that you can do something post Voyager very well. Mr. Pete Channel said I sent a super chat, but you didn't read it. I must have missed it. Give me a second. That will not stand, Mr. Pete. Give me a second. That won't stand. We don't do that. Not in my house. I honestly didn't see it. I'm sorry. Hold on. Not in my house. This is my house. 1 second, people. Here they are. Super chats. Oh, that hurt. The Mr. Pete channel. Good friend Lore. What will happen to Lore Rebooted? Once I get stabilized, Lore Rebooted will either be an archive channel or it will be my personal channel where I do vlogs. But I got to really get this this down first. But yeah, for those who don't know, I have Lore Rebooted. I didn't start. My wife started and still owns Lore Rebooted. And I was going to do videos there had this channel stayed. This channel went down. My wife started Lore Rebooted for me. I was going to do channels there. Michael Leith says, referring to anti-Trekker, are we? I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to. Aaron Alexander. I sent a super chat on previous stream and you didn't read it. So if I didn't read it, that meant that I was looking at someone else's or it didn't pop up. I apologize. That's one of the things that will do it. So I'm going forward, I'll keep up my super chat thing that I can refresh and see and can read, because I apologize. Laura, have you seen Cobra Kai? It's Karate Kid TV series. I've heard of it, have not seen it. Well, see, there are legal issues with people who own the rights to Larry Niven books. They can't use the Kazinti. Yeah, they can't use the Zinti. When will I have Anti-Trekker back? Anti-Trekker is always welcome on the show. He's just always busy and can't be on here when I'm on. I'm hoping he'll come back in Season 2. For those of you who are new, back when I was a lot smaller, smaller meaning like 5,000 subscribers, we did an after show immediately after every episode of Discovery. I intend to do that for Season 2. And you can actually see them. They're still down there. Usually it's just us being very angry and nitpicking, but if you like that sort of thing, we're definitely doing it in Season 2. Darth Kilhoun, first of the Grey Sith. If some sort of space wizards were in Star Trek, like the Jedi or Sith controlling an empire, how would Starfleet react to those people? I mean, it depends. Is it the Jedi or is it the Sith? They would respond the same way starting out with both, which would be to try to make friends, try to assist when they can, use political sway to move the Sith towards where they want. Yeah, that is what they would do. I don't know. What do you want more from that? They'd probably end up going to war with the Sith, but it would take a long, long time. It would be like the Dominion. By the way, is my video messing up for you guys? Because it's messing up on mine a little bit. I think that may be on my side this time. I need to get my hair cut. Cody85, we've had an empire and a socialist utopia in Star Trek so far. What other government system would be interesting to see in Star Trek? They've done almost every system. We've seen democracy, not democracy, capitalism, done both horrifically and well in the Ferengi. Socialism / communism in the Federation. The Klingon Empire works on it's a hierarchy. I forget what the word I'm looking for. Mr. Londale J, given $2 just cuz. I'd like to see a Starfleet series that's focused on the Ambassador along the lines of Rediff. Cheaperbot23 MC Sci-Fi builds. Loved your vid on the different Firefly variants. I'm glad you liked it. I'm going to start doing a lot of the way my channel is going to start going. We actually talked. Anti-Trekker did a live stream earlier. I always try to go to his. Honestly, if you do a live stream, I try to go and hang out just because I like supporting people. But Anti-Trekker was kind of talking about that. I'm going to have my channel ultimately do 40% Star Trek and then 60% other stuff. So I'm going to have 5 videos a week, and 2 to 3 of them will be Star Trek. That is going to cost me in views, but I want the channel to be a little bit multi-purpose. I don't want to just be a Star Trek channel. I don't think that's a good long-term strategy, and I want to do other stuff. Probably not Farscape. Farscape's hard for me to keep up with. Captain George, you and Anti-Trekkers should bring on a special guest for every live stream. For example, Captain Foley. I mean, we could. I'd have to let him take a look at the previous ones. I don't know that us going to town like we do would be something Trek Yards would be interested in. But they would be more than welcome to come on if they wanted to. Janeway Picard on the morality of the assimilated Borg. Janeway liberates and spares, but Picard puts them out of their misery. Which was the correct approach? Aaron Alexander, Janeway took a Borg against their will, forced them away from the collective against their will, told them they had freedom, but then restricted them from doing anything, like going back to the Borg, until they decided that the Borg made the right choice. So Janeway is not necessarily the most greatest person for what she did to Seven of Nine. That said, I don't necessarily blame Picard for killing the person. I don't. But that was situational. You had someone who was becoming a Borg. There was nothing they could do for him. And it was most likely that he would be turned and made to do something against his own. If I was being assimilated and there was nothing you could do to save me, then I would want to be killed. And I think that would be the right choice almost for anyone. Idea for show would be Honor Harrington books. What are the names of those books? Because the writer doesn't strike a chord with me. So what specific books are you talking about? Because I'd be interested in that. I would like to know the outcomes of the neurolytic pathogen that Admiral Janeway introduced into the collective in the last episode. You mean what is probably a complete genocide of the Borg? We don't know for sure. We know that some Borg survived. What probably happened is the Borg were severely weakened, sectioned off, and you just had pockets of Borg, and that the Empire was gone and that they had to rebuild, if I had to guess, because we know that some Borg survived. Janeway dictates her views to everyone. It was rather annoying. Picard gave Hugh a choice. That's true, Anthony Dukes. I do think Picard made the wrong choice in that, but that is a point. Author is David Weber, says Icarus. Okay, I'll have to look that up because I don't know what the books are about. But thank you for the super chat. I'll have to look it up. Take a look. One thing I love about doing this is you guys point out just great options and new books to read. I've read a lot of new books because of stuff like this. I wonder what happened to Janeway and Paris Slug Babies. Oh, God. That was stupid. I mean, just downright idiotic. That is not how evolution works at all. But I'm sure the babies, ultimately, you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened to slug babies. They became the Voth. So what happened is these slug babies, because they were everywhere at any point, were able to have time change powers and the ability to travel through time. They went back in time, landed on Earth, became the dinosaurs, which then became the Voth, and left. That's what happened to them. Sith Dan, when is your Stargate SG-1 video coming? I keep saying it's coming out and it never does, don't I? It's soon, I promise. I'm almost done with season 2 of that, and I'm about ready to start doing episodes. I'm also going to do Expanse episodes very shortly. Have you read any of the Titan series with Captain Riker? I've always been curious if those novels were worth reading. I've read a little bit of it. It's interesting. I would suggest them, I think. But yeah. Klingons equal a feudal monarchy of the re-established empire of Japan during the reign of Emperor Mojo. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are talking about it. I missed the discussion on why they wouldn't. But yeah, the empire is a feudal monarchy for all intents and purposes. I can't see how someone wouldn't think that, just based on what we know of them. I'll be ending this pretty shortly, guys, so if you guys have any other questions, let me know. The Borg uplift and perfect other species. That is one way of putting it. John Smith, given $2. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Titan wasn't a sovereign, I don't think. It's been a while since I've looked at that series. But it wasn't a sovereign, I don't believe. Parik, what 5 ships would be your perfect task force? Jordan Sullivan, The Expanse. Now, there's a great sign. I'm loving The Expanse. The proto-molecule I could do without. I'm not really as impressed with it. It's not bad. I don't hate it. I'm still interested in it. But I'd be more interested in seeing... them just being just the humans without the proto-molecule. As always, remember the can't. What 5 ships would be your perfect task force? Akuras, 2 to 3 Akuras. We'll say 2 Akuras, 2 Defiance. That's 4. We need a heavy hitter. Either a Prometheus or a Sovereign or a Galaxy. 2 Akuras, 2 Defiance, and then a heavy hitter. Sovereign, Prometheus, or Galaxy. If a gun to my head, I almost want to go Prometheus or Galaxy, but only because I don't think a Sovereign is generally used in a task force. Joe Shaver, 1104. Why did the Federation just take a couple of dozen shuttles, pack them with explosives, and send them into the Dominion lines at warp unmanned, of course? The Anti-Trekker has made a video on why you can't warp into other ships, why it doesn't work. I remain somewhat unconvinced of that video. It's possible. Beyond that, I would say that the ethics of Starfleet, because they couldn't control for that they could hit innocent civilians, because everything could go out of the way, they don't know how it would work. And also, they wouldn't have a series if they did that, would be how I'd explain it. I've asked this before, but will you break down Obi-Wan versus Maul in Rebels? Sure. At some point I will. Lore Reloaded. If you suffered from watching potentially 5 seasons of Discovery, then heard they're making a new Trek show based in the 25th century, would you watch? I'm going to watch every Star Trek series and movie they put out because I love you guys so much that I want to be on top of it. That said, I'd have to see what they're planning on doing with the series. Just because you're making something in 2409 doesn't mean that it's intriguing or that it'll be good. But I'd still watch it. It doesn't make it good just because it's in the 25th century. Ryan Hewitt, do you want to watch it? If it's a good story, yes. Discovery had the potential to have a very interesting story. I don't necessarily want to watch Discovery Season 2, if I'm being honest. I'm going to, because I want to talk to you guys about it. I want to be up to date, and I want to give them a chance to redeem themselves in my eyes. But I don't know that I'm necessarily committed to Discovery anymore, and I don't blame people who don't watch it. Bad Wolf Gamer, thanks for all the great in-depth videos and knowledge lore you have given us over the last few months. Keep up the great work. Hey, I am planning to do this till the day I die, buddy. Thank you for watching. Who would win, Constitution class or TARDIS? A TARDIS would win. Well, it depends. Are you talking about a battle TARDIS or just a regular TARDIS? Regular TARDIS still has a better chance, but it's possible. Enterprise could win. Battle TARDIS, Constitution will lose every time. Do I think Discovery is getting a Vulcan captain? No, I think they're going to make Burnham a captain somehow. Or Tilly. From what I heard, they're going to try to make Season 2 more like classic Star Trek. More like classic Star Trek Online. I think you mean the original series. But beyond that, they lie. They lie. They lie so hard. They're liars. I hope they do that, but they lie. James, have you seen Infinity War yet? I have seen Infinity War. I'll tell you what. If you guys want, we can end it on Infinity War, and I'll give you my opinion. So 1, if you want to do Infinity War, or 2, if we'll keep just doing sci-fi for the moment. Would I watch a canon sci-fi crossover between Star Trek, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Babylon 5, and Battlestar Galactica? I would not. I'm not the biggest on that. Wow. There's a lot more than I thought. I'll say this. It is a great movie. I agree. It is a great movie. If you're on my Twitter, you'll see my opinion. So if you want to look for my opinion on it, go to Twitter. I'll say this. I won't go into it. But I'll say this. It ruined one character for me. One character is irredeemable in my eyes. And I hope that character befalls a horrific fate. Any bad thing that ever happens to that character, they absolutely deserve it. Beyond that, epic movie. Absolutely loved it. Aaron Alexander, to your point, that's the one thing I'll say. I thought there was too much action and not enough story. This movie requires you to have watched at least The Avengers, optimally all of the movies. You can't watch this on your own. It won't make any sense. That's the one failing of the movie. If you know who I'm talking about, let's not spoil it for anybody. I'm not spoiling it. Don't say it. Mr. Pete, you can put them in timeout, but don't ban them. I bet when you reach over 26,000 subs, YouTube would try again to cancel your channel and force you to lose weight, says Sci-Fi. I'll tell you, it is the greatest weight loss program. Wow, Mr. Pete is serious. Yeah, I mean, Josh Street, if you're still watching, I apologize. Might not, should have timed you out, but yeah, I agree with your sentiment. When the MCU is all over, are you going to watch them? I mean, I'll rewatch them. I won't watch them in order. I'm not that committed. Anti-Trekker loves the MCU. I'm not that committed to it. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I hated about Infinity War was that the love story between Captain America and Iron Man, the characters were never originally homosexual, and I don't mind homosexuality. I mean, do whatever, but make original characters and make it a good story. And it comes out of nowhere. And then the triangle between Captain America and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, it's just weird. It's just weird. But, you know, again, I'm not against homosexuality. If that's what they want to do with it, that's fine. I just think that it demeans it all. They should have had original characters with it. But that's the only spoiler I'm going to give for it, Mr. Pete. Thoughts on the DCEU movies? I haven't really watched any of them. I watched Batman versus Superman, and I watched, what was the one with Harley Quinn? Ian Mays, it was about war, not love. Vulcan Logic says, what are you talking about? I'm trolling Mr. Pete. Can't time out. Suicide Squad, yeah, Suicide. I watched Suicide Squad, and I watched a majority of Batman vs. Superman. I haven't even watched all of it. What do I think of the J.J. Abrams Trek movies? We talked about that. I don't hate them. They're fine. I think that they pay a homage to the original, and they state, hey, we're not the originals. So, Michael Case says, I agree with the actor who played Sulu. Sulu was not gay. Making him that way was condescending. Yeah, you know, I tend to agree. So let me say this. I was being sarcastic. Just giving Mr. Pete a hard time. I hate when they change original characters and try to make them something they're not. I think it demeans what they're trying to do. Let me give you an example. When they had the female Thor, I think that is demeaning towards both Thor and women. And the reason I think that is because you're saying that the only way to have a great woman is just to replace her, just to replace the man. That is condescending. That is unfortunate, especially in that example, because they have strong women characters that were in Asgard. If you want to make and here's my thing, I would love, and I do enjoy seeing strong female characters done right, and I like that we're moving out and making it more diverse and showing homosexual characters and showing diverse characters. I think that's awesome. I like doing that. But give them something to stand on their own. Like the Black Panther. I love that and I haven't seen the movie, but I have read about the Black Panther, and I have seen him in like the Avengers and Infinity War. Great character. Just wonderful character. I like Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones is just an awesome character, an anti-hero that is just wonderful. And so I don't, the point of this channel is not to talk about that stuff that much, but I do think, I think that when you try to replace stuff like that it just demeans, it is condescending, and that you should just make original characters and make them great. Was, Black Panther's, I think that was that his sister or his niece? Tech Girl a bigot? I don't think she was a bigot. I never got that. Have you watched the DC TV shows? Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow? No, I haven't watched any of them. I will never watch Supergirl. Screw that. Flash I'm not impressed with. Especially Joe Shaver 114. Okay, white boy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, man, I love that argument. Hey, you can't talk about diversity, racism, or sexism because you're white. Because the color of your skin, I don't think you're worthy of talking about this. Oh my God. God bless people that think like that. Yes, she said white boy. That makes her race. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking to me. Okay, I misunderstood. That's what she said. Joe Shaver, I thought you were calling me white, and that's why I can't talk about it. Okay, I don't know then. I don't remember that. Or I don't remember. I haven't seen it. So, if she says stuff like that, if she says, okay, white boy, if she's always pointing out the race of a person, it doesn't matter what that person's race is, it's still racist. If a black person is constantly putting down a white person or constantly making jabs, saying cracker, saying white person, saying Caucasian, it's all racist. I don't care who they, and even if they were oppressed, I don't care if they were oppressed or not. You may have good justification for being a racist if you were oppressed by another race, but you're still a racist if you're doing it the same way. Calling... I mean, again, I would have to see it. I'd have to look at the context. I don't necessarily... So, for instance, if someone... If both parties are okay with it, then I don't have a problem with it. I don't consider it racist. And so I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know the context. So let's say that she's talking to whoever. This girl, his sister is talking to this person that she's good friends with, and she constantly calls him white boy. It's or cracker or whatever. And he doesn't mind it. It's a term of endearment between them. I don't get offended on other people's behalf. And so context always matters to me. So I would have to see it in context, but just off the cuff given to me, sounds racist. But yeah, Stamets being gay made sense. Yeah, Stamets. There's a good... I like Stamets. That's a good example, in fact. Stamets is an original character. I love Stamets. He's very interactive. He's very... he's a great arc builder, and he's homosexual. And he has... I like the dichotomy between him and the Doctor. I thought that was very well done. You know? So anyway, with that out of the way, I'm glad that we could, talk about that. Andrew Close, you're saying that as long as they're a well-developed character, it shouldn't matter. Skin tone, sex preference, yeah, exactly, Andrew Close. And don't replace characters. Just do something with it. Don't make another female Thor. Take the characters that you have from Asgard. Make Asgard great again. If you like the Transformers franchise, have you seen the Transformers series, Transformers Prime? It's a cartoon, but has a darker tone. I don't know if I've seen that one. I may have. I used to like Transformers a lot. I haven't watched a lot of the current movies. Admiral Alexander. First off, what's going on in this chat? I'm baffled. Section 31 Galaxy class, 2 Nebulas versus 2 ablative armored cloakable Defiant ships. I don't know. Who's a bigger Mary Sue, Michael or Wesley? Wesley, hands down, is a bigger Mary Sue. Absolutely, 100%. Wesley is one of the biggest Mary Sues you'll ever find in literature. Ever. And that's not just because I can't stand the character. He truly is a Mary Sue. Just based on all the things they give him, all the things he can do, all the things that he does, he just is. He's one of the hugest Mary Sues you'd find out. Area 51 and Admiral Saval. Interesting thing. If you say that to him now, he'll block you on Twitter. He hates that. Lore Loaded. Why Federation put way too much people and civilizations in a flying coffin? Are you talking about the Constitution class? Because they want to explore. Aaron Alexander, I'm from Scotland. Can you explain what the term Mary Sue means? I'm surprised that... Okay, I didn't know that it was a geographical location thing, but Mary Sue comes from a story, ironically, about Star Trek. Mary Sue is generally given to a character that is considered the best of the best, can do no wrong no matter what happens. They're very well liked. Generally, everything comes out aces on their side. Or if they don't, they're still awesome. Tacking down what a Mary Sue is definitively can be hard. Anti-Trekker discussed it. I think the best way is to pull up the Mary Sue story. And it's like 2 to 3 paragraphs at max. Look at the attributes of, and her name was Mary Sue, and then apply them. But like, for instance, in the story Mary Sue, Kirk, she was 15, and she was the first lieutenant to be 15, or whatever rank she was. Kirk came on to her, wanted to sleep with her. She turned him down. Kirk said, "Oh, I really respect you, and I love your genius," and then went and got her a coffee. She went down to an alien species, saved them, come back up. Kirk and all of the command crew were sick, and because of some virus. She ran the ship as a 15-year-old acting captain, the best anyone ever had. Ultimately, she succumbed to the virus as well. She died, and as she died, you had Kirk, McCoy, and Spock all crying, saying how she was the best that there ever was. Joe Shaver 11.4, gotta go. Thanks for the video. Sorry I wasn't more clear with the okay, white boy. LOL. Thanks again. No big deal. I'm sorry I took it wrong, Joe Shaver. It was funny. I mean, I wasn't even mad. So Joe Shaver, if you're still here, I wasn't even mad at you when I said that. I just thought it was funny. That entire mentality is funny to me, and I wasn't mad at you. I figured, because you've been on the chat before, I figured you were just messing with me, or even with you weren't. I don't get upset about that stuff. It wasn't a big deal. Even if you had said it to me, it wasn't really a big deal. But that's interesting. That makes me want to watch it just for that. See you, Vulcan. Thanks, Joe Shaver. Thanks for coming by, guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. This is completely fan funded, so stuff like that is how I stay alive. The Mr. Pete channel. Remember what Cisco said? Kirk was a ladies' man. Yeah, Kirk was a creeper. I would agree that he's not a pedophile, but he was very, very creepy and very inappropriate in some distances. I was with it till you said Spock cried. Spock only cries for Kirk. That is true. Spock does only cry for Kirk. Watch with us. I'm about to head out. Park, thanks for coming, buddy. I appreciate it. Area 51, what if I said, shut up, Will Wheaton? Would he still ban me? You know you should tweet him that and copy me on it. Say, hey, can I say shut up, Will Wheaton versus shut up, Wesley? By the way, at Lore Reloaded loves you. By the way, at Lore Reloaded loves you. You should definitely do that. If you watch the Transformers series Transformer Prime, I bet you'll love it. Well, I'll try it. I'll take a look at it. I may have already seen it. I don't know. Aaron Alexander, I quite liked Riker's suaveness. See ya, Arlen Red. Thanks for coming by. Riker was generally good. He had some points that was unfortunate. He could be a big jerk to people. He could be very, very mean. What's up, buddy? What you doing? Have you gotten done editing my videos? You're probably hungry. That's why you're meowing at me. Anyway, at Lore Reloaded, Spock times Kirk in love. That's the reason Spock cries for Kirk. Yeah, they are love. Kirk probably beats Lando, in my opinion. What's up, buddy? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you heard him. He's meowing at me. I think he's hungry, probably. It's usually when he talks to me. You guys don't get to see my other cat all that much. Because my other cat usually hangs out with me, but it's in the mornings. He's usually the one that hangs out with the night. Yeah, Eric Stockley, thank you. Cleopatra is the second of 3 dogs. She's the second one to die. I've lost 2 dogs in the last I've lost 2 dogs in the last 6 months. I've had them for over a decade, so they're getting pretty old, so I'm not surprised. It's unfortunate. It hurts pretty bad. Alright guys, I think we are going to end it there. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And as always, you know, let your conscience be your guide, or I don't know, something like that. But I will definitely see you guys on the next. Now I gotta wait for my music to pop up. On the next, wait for it, Lore Reloaded.